So if you watched my last video, you know that I said I would keep going with my adoption story. I have 3 children that are all adopted and all have unique stories, and I think they're worth sharing. I know God created each one of them specifically for me and specifically to make a difference on this earth, and I love sharing their stories. I hope you'll enjoy it. And if you do, do me a favor and share it with somebody that you know might enjoy it, and give me a like and help me get my story out. So in my last video about the first adoption, I said that Ashley was 19 months old when we met her. She started to live with us in Thanksgiving of 2001. We celebrated her 2nd birthday in 2002. We continued with the fostering process. God had answered my prayer. I didn't even think about other children at the time, but I knew we did want to foster some more. So we did kind of respite fostering a little bit. If a parent was going out of town or if they just needed a break or something like that, we were there for them. So we did that a little bit. And we also fostered a couple of other children as the year progressed throughout Ashley's 2nd year. And one of the sets of children that we fostered, they were older than Ashley and they were a handful. And although we loved them, they got to share our 2nd Christmas with Ashley and through Valentine's Day of 2003. And then we realized that we probably needed to place them with another family or ask for them to be placed with another family, because Ashley started showing more and more signs of delays, and we wanted all of our first to be with her. So we agreed at the time that we wouldn't foster anybody else that was any other children that happened to be older than Ashley, so that we could experience all of our first parenting experiences with her. Plus, we had already started taking her to OT and PT and speech. We did not utilize early childhood intervention. I had been an early intervention specialist, and I thought I was just as equipped as one of the other specialists would have been. But now looking back, I wish I would have utilized that, had some more eyes on the situation, and also given me a little break and her a little break. And you're going to hear throughout my story, there's a lot of I wish I would have's. I don't really like living with regrets, so I wish I would have's is what I say. I don't remember a time where I wasn't a believer or relied heavily on my faith, even as a young child. So no matter how things happened, I believe it was in God's plan. And if we happened to veer off our path with our prayers that we were sending up to Him, I know that He guided us back on the path that we were intended to be on. That was 2003, and Ashley had just turned 3 in January of that year. I had mentioned before that she had these great big blue eyes. Well, as she got a little older, one of them started turning in a little bit. She ended up needing eye surgery. So we proceeded with that, and she handled it like a champ. That didn't diminish the need for her to have little glasses, but it helped with the eye turning in. I guess that was in early March. So she was 2 years and maybe 2 months. All of a sudden, although I had prayed for a little blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl, I never imagined another child. I didn't want to be greedy. But, turn back the time a little bit, Christmas of 2001, her first Christmas with us, I bought our first stockings, and I had them all engraved, including the pet's name. Monogrammed, not engraved. And I bought an extra one. I had it monogrammed with the name Grant. And I really didn't tell anybody. I just put it in the Christmas box for, whenever. And I just kind of kept it to myself that if God ever gave us a little boy, He would be granting our prayers. So that was in December of 2021. So in March of 2023, Ashley had her surgery. We had her, a year and a half or so, something like that. And I just got this overwhelming feeling that we were about to get another child, but not a foster child per se, like a temporary housing or respite child, but a child that would be ours up for adoption. And my feeling was so strong, I told my ex-husband, I said, we need to prepare a nursery. So we turned our guest room upstairs into a nursery. We painted it a pale yellow color, put Ashley's old crib in it, a rocker, a jam box, as we had back then for CDs, a sound machine, some books, and a friend of mine gave me the bedding that she had for her little boy. And I just knew without a doubt that God was going to bless us, grant us with my prayer for a little boy. I was laying on the couch with Ashley as she was healing from her eye surgery, and the phone rang, and it was the foster care agency, and I picked it up, and they told me about a little boy that was 4 days old, and he was in the neonatal intensive care unit, and he needed a home because he would be placed in foster care. It was highly possible that he would be adoptable, and would we be interested? Well, absolutely. So I told our foster care worker, absolutely, what do we need to do next? And then I called David, my ex-husband. I said, guess what? There's a little boy, he's in the hospital. They want us to come meet him tonight. So we got Ashley all dressed up, and David and I went up to the hospital, and we met the CPS worker. And she kept Ashley in the hallway while David and I put on all of the garb that you have to put on for protection for the babies in the neonatal intensive care unit. And we went in, and the minute I saw that precious boy, I knew that God had created him, designed him for me. He had tubes running all throughout his little body, all over his head and his feet, and his lungs weren't fully developed. On his nameplate, it was blank. And we asked what the situation was, and his birth mom had not given him a name, and the nurses didn't know what to call him. I said, we're going to call him Grant, because God granted us our prayers for a little boy. And so they wrote the name Grant on his name card. This was like 20 minutes from where we were living. And I went every 4 hours to give him his bottle, to hold him and rock him and bathe him and create that bond with him. When it was time for him to go home, he was in the hospital for 2 weeks. God just is so amazing. We got to spend the night in the hospital. They put him in our room to see how he would breathe overnight on his own. We got to take care of him overnight, almost as if I had given birth in a way, and then take him home the next day. And they actually wheeled us out in a wheelchair with me holding him, and we put the car seat in the car, and Ashley and Grant and David and I went home with our little boy. So that is part 2 of my adoption story. And there's so much more to tell about both Ashley and Grant. But before I get into that, I'm going to tell you part 3 of our adoption story, which is our surprise baby that I didn't even know that I needed to pray for. But oh my gosh, I'm so glad we have her. So stay tuned, and you'll get to hear that story too.